Greetings, everyone. Well, it is package opening time again. Yeah, I've been doing quite a few of these lately, haven't we? Well, we had a bit of catching up to do with ones that were sent by viewers. This, however, is one that I ordered for myself. A selection of items from CreatorVC, which, if the name isn't immediately familiar to you, they are the people who do those wonderful feature-length documentaries about horror movies and such. They did the In Search of Darkness series, and they did that one about The Thing that I just got recently. Well, there was one in particular I really wanted to get that unfortunately I missed out on at the time. I just didn't have the money for it at the time. And, well, just in time for the 40th anniversary of this particular film, they put out a special edition, which is appropriate because the movie itself had a special edition some time ago. What is it? Well, depending on what I decide to put in the thumbnail, you may already know. But either way, let's check them out. A whole bunch of stuff from CreatorVC. Oh yeah, it's not just that one. Because when I got that one, they also had an opportunity to get some of the previous ones that you might have missed out on at a pretty tasty discount too, so I couldn't pass those up. So let's see what we got from CreatorVC today on the Multimedia Chronicles. I've been looking forward to this one. I wasn't sure when it was going to arrive. I thought it was going to come around the same time as The Thing, but it didn't. And, well, anyway, it's finally gotten here, and I've been really excited to open this up. So let's not waste any more time, shall we? Oh, very nice. So first off, the one I mentioned in the intro there, the 40th anniversary edition of Aliens Expanded. Yeah, check that out. And that's great. You can really see that well. That's what happens when I don't look. There we go. Aliens Expanded. In a nice hard box case. They don't usually do hard boxes. So let's take a look here. So we have the documentary. We go. So basically what this is it's, you can call it Aliens Expanded. So it's the original documentary with a whole bunch of additional material. Let's see what it says on the back here. Yeah, so we have the documentary, which originally came out in 2024, so a couple of years ago. So Aliens Expanded is the definitive exploration of James Cameron's sci-fi classic, breaking down the film sequence by breaking down the film sequence by superlative sequence, a bit of a verbose description there. Aliens Expanded reveals not only the history of aliens, but goes in search of its enduring power. The result is an extraordinary journey through a perfect sequel from its conception, driven by a visionary director, to its triumphant Oscar-nominated release, with a series of specially curated sidebars spinning off into the expanded universe and beyond. So the documentary itself is 282 minutes. Then, just as the film has multiple cuts, so does this. We also have the theatrical cut, which is 100 minutes. So it says, experience the 100-minute version of Aliens Expanded, which has a surprisingly different feel to the original. Pacier and more direct, the theatrical cut sticks closer to the timeline of the film as it tells the story of aliens and its enduring power, guided by the wonderful interview with James Cameron. Then we have the extended interviews from 2025. Is that the new stuff, I guess? Or some new stuff, anyway. Or no, this is... I'm confused. Anyway, I didn't get the original, so I have no idea what the differences are. Anyway, 827.5 minutes of extended interviews, featuring over 14 hours of extended interviews with the major participants in the documentary. This is an unprecedented chance to immerse yourself in the world of aliens. ranging where the questions take them, unmediated by film clips and directorial choices, often very funny and unexpected. You'll get an unforgettable sense of the individual personalities who contributed so much to a classic. And finally, we have Mission Debrief from 2025, which is 58 minutes. A brand new, in-depth interview with writer-director Ian Nathan and executive producer Robin Block, in which they answer questions set by individual backers. Gain a real insight into the creation of Aliens Expanded from the inception of the project through the highs and lows of production, the challenges involved in telling the story, that one interview that got away, to the incredible experience of gaining rare access to James Cameron and Sigourney Weaver. So there you go. Very, very cool. Let me crack this open. So it's actually 2 discs and a book. And there we go. A new species of documentary. Very nice. So, perfect. This arrived, I think, like 2 days ago. I think I got this on Friday. It's currently Sunday when I'm filming this. And today, Sunday, is the actual 40th anniversary. What even is the date today? Let me just check real quick. Date is, yes, July 18th, 2026, and the movie was originally released July 18th, 1986, yes. So, the booklet, we have all kinds of goodies. I mean, we got the man himself right there, very nice. I just wish they hadn't messed up the 4K so bad. So it would have been really nice to have a big deluxe 40th anniversary 4K, but I will never be wasting my money on that piece of crap. So, yeah, anyway. I have it multiple times over on Blu-ray anyway. And I even have the old Laserdisc, thanks to a viewer helping me to get that back in my collection. So, yeah, all kinds of cool stuff. This is great. So, yeah, I've been a huge fan of this movie, basically, ever since it came out. I can't remember if I saw this before I think I saw this before I saw the original, actually. I don't remember. Oh, man, looking at that editing timeline, that reminds me of many a Multimedia Chronicles episode. Yeah, you guys don't know, unless you've been to some of my editing streams over the years. Yeah, you just don't know how much work actually goes into these videos sometimes. So when I see those editing timelines, I am filled with reams of empathy for the editor of whatever that is. So very cool. Definitely going to enjoy checking this out. So there we go. Aliens Expanded. I'll put it right next to my Aliens 35th Anniversary Blu-ray. Alright, what else did we get? So, as I mentioned, we had a second opportunity, well, one of many opportunities to get caught up. They often will re-release them as, you know, add-ons if you order one of the newer ones. So in this one, they basically offered their entire back catalog of titles. If I'd had a little bit more money, I would have got all of the rest of them that I didn't have. So which ones did I get? Well, first off, I got In Search of Darkness, which is their trilogy of documentaries about horror movies in the 80s. Now, back when they did the first one, I did actually luck out and get the Elvira edition of the first one. Now, what's interesting to note is when they did the first one, they had these various alternate versions you could get. So this is the Elvira one, which is the one that was of most interest to me. But they did another one, I think, with Dead Meat, and they did one with, you know, the lead guy from Slipknot. And the cool thing about that was they weren't just, you know, they didn't just have like some additional featurette or something featuring that person or host or what have you. It was actually full-on alternate cuts of the movie. So in this case, we have, I don't know, about 30 minutes or so of additional, you know, intro and personal anecdotes and stories and whatnot from Cassandra Peterson, Elvira herself, edited into the movie. So it's a full-on alternate cut of the documentary. Now, they did the same thing with the second one when it came out, but they didn't do it as an alternate cut of the movie. It was still the same cut of the movie across all the different editions. The only difference is they had, well, as I say, material featuring the other people in the extras. The odd thing was, from what I read about them, it was very clear that that material was intended to be slotted in, excuse me, to an alternate cut of the documentary, but for whatever reason they just never did it that way. They just kind of went meh and just threw all those intro sequences into the extras. So you have Cassandra Peterson doing all these intros for these various segments and just, you know, that go nowhere.
I actually forgot. It went even farther than that with the second In Search of Darkness. Whereas the first one had 3 alternate versions featuring various celebrity guest hosts, the second one featured 11. Yes, there were 11 alternate editions of In Search of Darkness 2. I spent like 2 days scouring the internet and the Wayback Machine to find pictures of all of them for you. But yeah, 11 different alternate versions, so 12 versions total. Each one was $80. The Fright Rags one was a little more expensive because it came with a t-shirt. But here's the real kicker. Those 20-minute featurettes that were included on each one aren't actually on the disc. No, you had to download them. And at the time, they just tossed them all up onto Vimeo without any password protection or anything. So literally anybody could just go onto Vimeo and see all the featurettes, download them for their personal archives, whatever. But here's the thing. If, like me, you were thinking of tracking down one or more of those alternate editions for your collection, just bear in mind you will not be getting the featurette. You will only be getting the alternate cover art and nothing else. Needless to say, fans were not thrilled with the aggressive over-marketing and FOMO approach of In Search of Darkness 2. I mean, these things were not available for a very long time. So what, they expect you to shell out $1,200 to get all the different editions? And basically all the disc content is the same. So essentially all you're getting is an alternate cover and a poster of the alternate cover. And if you get it on the aftermarket, you can't even get the featurettes. So when it came time to do the third one, they calmed things down a bit, and they only did 2 alternate editions, one more with Elvira and one more with Corey Taylor, and that was it. Now, as for the featurette, I don't know if in this case the featurette was actually on the disc. Maybe someone out there, if you happen to have it, you can let me know in the comments. Yeah, since then, they've calmed it down even farther, and they don't really do alternate editions anymore. You get the one that everybody else gets, and you're done. But yeah, needless to say, there was a fair amount of controversy and backlash from fans when the second one came out. And, well, it's good to see that CreatorVC has since learned their lesson and calmed things down a bit. But as I said, the only one that actually had full-on alternate cuts of the documentary incorporating all the guest host footage was the 3 alternate editions of the first one.
So let's crack this open here. So yeah, so this has the original just normal cut of In Search of Darkness Part 1, which is 260 minutes. The Elvira cut is 280 minutes. So yeah, so it's 20 minutes longer. It's 20-minute difference. So let's just crack this open here and we'll check it out. So the 80s, of course, you know, born in the 70s, raised in the 80s. So the 80s was a huge part of my personal horror history growing up. And we'll put it in here for now. There's another one in there, which I'll show you in a sec. So, just going through them quickly, let's see. Oh, it's actually numbered. So, we have number 301 of the In Search of Darkness trilogy collection. And we also have a booklet. There you go. And the fine folks at CreatorVC who bring us all these wonderful documentaries. Very cool. Yeah, that's very neat. So they actually did put one out just recently up for pre-order. They're doing one about the 70s era of horror, and sadly, well, no sooner did I get caught up than I missed that one. So, Yeah, great stuff. So they have a, this is actually pretty cool, a checklist of movies that are covered in the documentary. Very cool. I'm not going to go through all of this, but yeah, so anyway, so it's nice to have, I guess, the alternate cut, of the, just sort of regular cut of the documentary. There we go. And then there's the other two. And especially nice to have all three of them now. So let's see what they're all about, shall we? In case you're wondering, like, wow, 3 feature-length documentaries, and they're all about, like, 4.5, almost 5 hours long. Actually, part 3 is over 5 hours long. Okay, so In Search of Darkness, part 1. Compelling critical takes and insider tales of the Hollywood filmmaking experience drive this extraordinary 4+ hour documentary with a new perspective on the decade that gave rise to some of the horror genre's greatest films and franchises. Filled with countless horror movie clips amid entertaining, never-before-told anecdotes, In Search of Darkness is a nostalgia trip through a game-changing decade featuring 45+ contributors, including John Carpenter, Doug Bradley, Keith David, and Barbara Crampton. Very cool. And then In Search of, and that one's 260 minutes, as we covered already. In Search of Darkness Part 2 is 270 minutes, so 4.5 hours, like even. Part 2 dives deeper into the fabled practical effects decade of 80s horror movies. Packed with more than 4 hours of brand new interviews, this clip-filled nostalgia trip features new faces, including such legendary horror icons as Robert Englund, Nancy Allen, Linnea Quigley, and SFX wizard Tom Savini, the man himself. Exploring the cast's favorite frights and own films, Part 2 spotlights even more fan-favorite titles of 80s horror year by year, while expanding its scope of critical takes and insider tales to cover more international releases and focus on horror career retrospectives. And finally, In Search of Darkness Part 3, which is 342 minutes. That's 5 hours and 42 minutes. An extensive exploration of a time when horror filmmaking exploded globally, fueled by the power of the VHS revolution. More than 70 horror icons and experts share insider tales of 80s filmmaking adventures, discussing 79 impactful and controversial films of the decade. Topics include the rise of indie horror filmmakers and distributors amid the home video boom, the horror backlash during the Satanic Panic, heavy metal in horror, marginalization in mainstream content, the influence of Mexican, European, Canadian, and Asian horror films, visionary directors, and much more. And then in the special features, we have 2 lengthy discussions with the creators of In Search of Darkness, Tom Woodruff Jr.'s special effects tour at the Hollywood Museum, and Graham Humphrey's The Art of In Search of Darkness. The extras are mostly to do about the documentary itself, but very cool. So that will be fun to dive into. And then finally, not to just solely focus on horror, we got horror. We have sci-fi horror with aliens. And then, well, let's do one about... What the hell was that? Oh. It's the little control box for the lights. Hold on. There we go. You saw nothing. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. So then we have In Search of Tomorrow, which is a documentary all about 80s science fiction, which, definitely something I grew up with big time. And, yeah, this is like a documentary for me, personally. So, very cool. I've been wanting to check this one out. And again, just missed it when it came out. This one's 300 minutes, so a solid 5 hours long. In Search of Tomorrow is a 5-hour love letter to 80s sci-fi cinema. A nostalgic exploration of the impact and relevance of these beloved film classics, guided by the iconic artists who made them and by those who were inspired by their futuristic visions. This super doc takes viewers on a year-by-year deep dive into the awe-inspiring film worlds of 80s sci-fi, with larger context chapter discussion topics placed between each year from 1980 to 1989. Breaking down the most popular and eccentric sci-fi titles of the 80s, theatrical and video store releases, In Search of Tomorrow examines compelling insider tales of the creative process, the resonating themes of these imaginative stories, the technology behind the fiction, and their futuristic forecasts, the bold marketing of these films, and the political and Cold War climate that impacted our entertainment. In Search of Tomorrow features stunning insights and entertaining anecdotes from more than 70 exclusive interviews, comprised of legendary actors, directors, producers, writers, visual and special effects masters, composers, production craftspersons, film critics, and authors, alongside notable experts including a futurist, a clinical psychologist, and an astrophysicist. A rousing celebration of 80s genre filmmaking at its zenith, In Search of Tomorrow taps into that childlike wonder that we all felt watching these movies, while deconstructing and recontextualizing their impact for today's audiences. And special features, a discussion with the creators of In Search of Tomorrow. Very cool. Yeah, so this is going to be, well, many hours of viewing, but I definitely look forward to finally being able to check all of these out. I love these sort of megadocs, you know, about stuff. I've got a few of them. Like, I've watched, you know, I've got like the one for Nightmare on Elm Street, Never Sleep Again. Got Crystal Lake Memories. I never did get the book that goes with that. But, yeah. So here we go. I'll just open this up here. Oh, it looks like this one actually has a reversible cover. We'll take a look at that in a sec here. There we go. What's the reversible cover? Oh, yeah. Okay, that's like a significant reversible cover. That's cool. Check that out. Never thought we'd see Kirk standing shoulder to shoulder with RoboCop. Very cool. Oh yeah, RoboDoc. That's another one that I picked up recently and absolutely loved. That was terrific. What else was there? Yeah, there's been a bunch of them in recent years, mostly to do with like single franchises. So it's interesting to have kind of as a companion piece to those, these documentaries, which are more about, you know, an overview of the genre in that era, you know, and that's great stuff. And then the booklet. Very nice. We got like a whole who's who of folks. That's awesome. Let's see, we got Will Wheaton, Peter Weller, Billy D. Williams. Yeah, I recognize a few of these people, but of course they're old now, so you don't always recognize everybody. Oh, we got Sam Jones. Yeah, no, that's great. Walter Koenig. Ah, it's amazing. Films checklist, again, going year by year, just like the horror one. That's very cool. Very nice. Oh yeah, no, this is going to be great. Yeah, so as I said, they did put out, they just put up the pre-orders for a 70s one, and they've also started to do accompanying books. There is an accompanying book for Aliens Expanded as well, which I may or may not get. I'm not decided on that yet. I'd really like to get the book that, was it J.D. Rinsler put out, which I hear is excellent, so yeah.
Actually, they've done a bunch of books. They did one for In Search of Darkness. They did one for In Search of Tomorrow. And they also put out one for Aliens Expanded, which, if you got in early enough, you could get in a twofer with the In Search of Darkness book. Needless to say, I missed all of them. But if they come up for sale again, maybe. We'll see. I mean, I've got so many coffee table books on horror already. I don't know that I need that many more. But it would be kind of nice to have as a companion piece to the documentaries.
So hopefully there will be a second chance to get that 70s one. But, because, I mean, the 70s is such an incredible era for horror and just media in general. Film, comics, movies, horror, everything. Porn. Like, the 70s was really the era that kind of, you know, everything changed. Because it's because a lot of the censorship laws eased up. So people were more free to be creative and such. And then the 80s just kind of continued that, you know, getting more wild and creative and so forth. We were also entering into the age of excess, you know, the whole, you know, Reaganomics and whatnot, and, you know, the supposed end of the Cold War, which seems to be firing up again. And so there was a lot of that in the media at the time that, you know, kind of trickled in there. But I don't want to get too heavily into that. Anyway, yeah, a very cool selection of stuff from CreatorVC. Get in there. There, good enough. Maybe that'll be the thumbnail. It's like looking like a doof. Anyway, very cool. I don't know when I'm going to get around to watching all of these because that's a lot of hours of stuff. But I definitely did not want to miss out on this Alien set, which was what prompted this big like mega purchase from CreatorVC to begin with. Yeah. Now, one of the reasons I tend to miss out on them is because when they first come out, they tend to be a little expensive. You know, they're not the cheapest documentaries. But I mean, it's understandable considering how much they put into them. I just wish they didn't make them so bloody limited, you know, and like hard to get. But they do give you second chances to get them from time to time. So, as I said, like while the Aliens documentary was, I think, a little bit less costly than when it originally came out, the others were at a substantial discount. I think they were like less than half price from what they normally were. And to get them physically as well was, yeah. It's funny because I forgot to mention, I actually did pick up the Aliens documentary digitally because I think it was when I ordered The Thing, actually. Yeah, they had an opportunity to get some of the previous documentaries digitally, so I didn't want to get all of them digitally, but I didn't think that there would be a second chance to get a physical version of the Aliens doc, so I grabbed the digital one. Again, at a huge discount. I think it was like $15 or something, so it wasn't like, you know, a huge expense on my part, but to be able to get it in physical form and expanded, you know, even better. Oh, it's because there's like a ribbon or something in there. That's why. There was like a piece of cardboard jammed in. I couldn't figure out why it wasn't. Stupid. Ah, there we go. Look at that. Perfect. I was like, why isn't it going in? Because there was this stuck in there. Piece of cardboard. I don't know. Now, at long last, Elvira has some company. Sorry to have you alone for so long. Yeah, that Elvira one came out in 2017. It's almost the 10th anniversary of that. I wonder if they'll do a 10th anniversary re-release of all the alternate cuts. Wouldn't that be nice? Anyway, folks, that is it from me to you for now. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Until then, thanks for watching, and sayonara.